I'll turn on my video just to say hello because it's rude otherwise. I've got the wrong camera. Oh no, it's not recognizing that
Oh,
one.
it doesn't want to show you. It's protecting your identity.
Oh, maybe it is, or maybe it's because I muppetly haven't plugged it in because I was just doing the sound.
Introducing Simon Reeve, Muppet.
Yeah, he is remarkably impressive with technology, as you can see.
I mean, you can go all over the world, but you can't turn a camera on. It's just as well you've got people doing that for you, really.
Exactly. Honestly, I really can't be trusted with it.
There you are.
Good morning. Hello.
Simon, first of all, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. It's lovely to speak to you.
Not at all, thank you.
Obviously, you are an adventurer, you go all over the world, and you've looked at some of the most beautiful and fragile places as well. So what we're talking about today must be something that is particularly something you're not only keenly aware of, but very passionate about as well.
Yeah, I suppose the standard thing to say was it's close to my heart, but it's sort of more than that as well, because the journeys I do, they're wonderful to be a part of and to go on. But I also do genuinely feel a big responsibility goes with the privilege. You know, I'm lucky enough to travel the planet and try and explore what's happening to our world, and I get to see the majesty and the beauty of the world, but also the problems that we're facing. And we try and incorporate that very definitely into the programs, whether it's conflict and war or whether it's what we're doing to the environment. And so since the beginning of my programs, I've been trying to highlight the environmental challenges we're facing in the world, whether that's horrific pollution or, well, it's often horrific pollution, isn't it? Or what we're doing to wildlife on the planet. Just stupidly, the things we're doing as a species, really, to hammer our only home. So we've always made that part of the program, and anything to do with the environment then is of interest to me. And building a greener, better future is definitely something I believe in, and I know we need to do.
It can be quite overwhelming at times, though, can't it? And maybe even a little bit disheartening, because we try and do these little things, but of course the issue is enormous, and especially when it's things that we don't feel like we can immediately impact on. So, for instance, there are some major weather events going on at the moment that, there's a big loss of life with these weather events. And I suppose for people individually, we might sort of think, oh, how can I change that?
I think that's fair and true. And, people, we don't see where we fit into the overall, we don't see our power, our importance really as a component in the economy and the environment as a result. But, as Brits, we have an enormous environmental footprint. It can be quite shocking to realize, but we've got a power and a responsibility that comes with that. And actually, there are lots of things we can do individually and collectively. And that probably starts with recognizing there's a problem in the first place, and then listening when people or governments are saying, look, we've got to do something about this. This is what we're going to do. Try not to grumble about it too much because it's really important. And, I'm taken back to this survey that's just been conducted by Census Wide, which shows which environmental achievements of the last decade make us as Brits feel proud. And this survey is really clear. It shows that we are really pleased and proud of, for example, the charge that was put on plastic bags, the ban that was placed on plastic microbeads in cosmetics and so on, and that nearly 80% of Brits really do want to combat climate change now and pass on a healthy planet to our kids. And I think that's really interesting. I suppose the main point is that Brits do care, and we can make a big difference. The plastic bag charge, which has been voted for as the top environmental achievement, that's resulted in a 97% drop in the use of single-use plastic bags. And that makes a massive difference. We haven't got so many of those bags clogging our sewers, littering our lanes and our highways. And that's really, really key and important. And it comes out, this survey, at the same time as a report's been conducted into our future energy use. And of course, how we use energy going forward is absolutely critical because we've got to move away from using fossil fuels to heat our homes and cook our food and so on. And that report, it's been done by a group called Cornwall Insight, and it's showing how important it is for us to have a more flexible energy system going forward. So we can use renewable resources like solar and wind, and smart meters are going to play a really big part in helping to create that greener future and building a more flexible national energy system. So don't think that you as an individual aren't making a difference, aren't involved in the situation, and hopefully involved in providing and finding solutions and a better ecosystem and economy as a result.
And that's the thing. I mean, talking about the plastic bags, that is such a visual difference that has happened, and it sort of reconnects us to the plants around us, because we're then not impacting on the wildlife around us, the flora and fauna, really, aren't we? And you will have seen that, I'm sure, as well in your travels, and sort of the reduction in plastic. But then also there are still some nations, aren't there, where they're somewhat far behind on that and maybe need to kind of take a step up.
Totally. When you say that, the two places I think that I've been to, Bangladesh, which banned thin plastic bags years ago because they were having the same problems we were, but it was slightly more significant, perhaps, the consequences, because the plastic bags were littering the country and they became breeding grounds for mosquitoes because little pools of water would develop in them, and it was blocking sewers in monsoon. So the country banned them, and it's a much cleaner place as a result. I was in Spain traveling around the Mediterranean, and I saw how plastic use there for plastic greenhouses, which are used on a vast scale to grow much of our fruit and veg that we import during the winter. That's often the plastic from those is often just ploughed into the ground or discarded of. And that was really horrific to see, because it was sort of caked into different layers in the ground. And that was sort of like the worst case, worst situation, really, worst use that you could have for the plastic. So how we use it around the planet varies from idiotic to slightly more sensible. Of course it does. And how we use plastic in the UK, obviously that's been changing since the charges were put on plastic bags. But I think, people grumbled a little bit about it at the time. But as you say, we can see the difference. And that makes it a really key thing for us to recognize as we go forward, that something that we thought might be a little bit tricky, actually it's not that hard at all to take a bag to the shops, is it? And it makes the country and the environment better. Banning plastic microbeads, that was another thing we did in 2018. Before that, they were in a lot of our cosmetics, tiny beads of plastic. As mad as it sounds now, just having one shower could flush 100,000 microbeads down the drain and into the ocean. That was just bonkers, wasn't it? So we banned that, we stopped it. We can have these clear wins where we do something better. And I think going forward, how we use our energy is going to be a really key area where we can improve things. So we move away from fossil fuels, we use more renewable energy, but we're going to have to use that renewable energy flexibly and intelligently. We need to sort of level it out during the day, so we're not all just using energy at peak time from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. If we spread it out during the day, and honestly, these smart meters are going to play a really key role in that. That will mean that we save money in the future. It could save about £14 billion in the year 2040. So huge sums. And it also could mean, hopefully, that we'll need less dirty, big gas-fired power stations in the future. So this report, the one that was mentioned from Cornwall Insight, it shows using energy basically more flexibly at home. It's a win-win-win for consumers, for the energy system, for the environment as well.
And it's interesting you talk about this with the energy, because there's an ongoing discussion at the moment on the Isle of Man about wind turbines, and they're trying to find areas to erect these wind turbines. And there is still a lot of a kind of pushback, I guess, really, from people. It's a bit sort of NIMBYism, I suppose. The sort of, I don't really want it near me, but however, I do want to support it. What would you say to people to try and encourage them to sort of take a different perspective on it?
Well, I think I can totally understand it. I think change, full stop, can be tricky for people, can't it? And obviously people don't want the view that they enjoy necessarily to be changed. They don't want the environment that they enjoy to be changed. But look, unless we collectively do this, we're not just going to see change, we're going to see ruin. We're going to see terrible things happening. We are starting to see that elsewhere around the world. I have absolutely no doubt, and nobody should, because there's 8 billion of us on this planet, a number that's only increasing, and we're going to have an ever bigger impact. So we've got to introduce cleaner, greener ways of living and of producing power and of existing. And yes, that might involve people having their something popped up in their view on their in their outlook that they might not necessarily want. But we want to find the right places to put things. Of course we do. We want to find the best places that impact as little as possible. If people are feel that it's a complete negative for them to have something in their view, hopefully we can persuade them, or we can give them perhaps even subsidies. I don't know. I know as a country we're talking about all of these sort of options so that people whose world is changed get some sort of benefit from something that's introduced, like wind turbines, for example. But whatever we're going to do, we've got to do it quickly. We've got to get on with it. And however we do it, we've got to build a national energy infrastructure, if you like, that is flexible and is able to incorporate the power from things like wind turbines off the coast of the Isle of Man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm guessing as well, being a father's probably kind of changed your perspective somewhat on this, because sort of looking to the future and what that's going to be like for children as well.
I think that's true. I think it would. I think you couldn't really have it any other way, could you? You look at your littler and his friends and my godchildren, and of course I want as much as possible for them to inherit a world that is interesting and safe and beautiful. And I can't impress on people enough that what I see on my journeys, what I go out and what we try and film and capture to show people back in the UK is a changing world. We are having a colossal impact on our planet. There are a lot of terrible and negative things happening, but there is still a beautiful world out there worth fighting for and believing in. But we have to adapt to a situation where we as humans have immense power, and we have to use that. We have to recognize that power. We have to recognize how much we're polluting the world. And then we have to reduce it and mitigate it and avoid it as much as we possibly can. So if the option comes your way to make a little bit of a difference, you've got to really try and grasp it. You've got to recognize that you as a person, as a citizen, as a human, you have a power, but that comes with a responsibility as well to exist in a way that has the smallest impact on the environment. And yes, delivers ultimately a decent planet for our children and our grandchildren.
And that's why this research is actually, the survey is actually really, really encouraging, because it does show that these little things that we've done that are, they don't really make that much of a difference to us. The fact that we're just using reusable bags and, not using plastic straws and reducing microbeads, it's not really changing our lives to a huge extent, but it is actually making a huge difference to the world. And as you've mentioned, we're proud of it. And so that has got to sort of be a really good start, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So going forward, we've got this. I mean, exactly as you're saying, those bans and the charge that was put on plastic bags, they were big national projects, if you like, that we did as a nation. So going forward, I think we've got to understand we've definitely got more to do. And a big national project now is this rollout of smart meters around the country. There's about 33 million that have been rolled out so far, and they are a good thing for Britain, for the environment, for individual households. The more meters that are installed, the greater the benefit. So people who request an installation of a smart meter, they're helping to build the foundations, if you like, of this more flexible energy system, which will benefit us all as a nation moving forward. It will save us money in the decades to come, and it will definitely benefit the environment as well, and our ecosystem, if you like, our national British ecosystem.
Well said. We can make a difference. We can.
Yeah.
And you're about to go on tour as well. And I mean, not coming to see us, but that's fine. We still love you. So
well, not yet. I hope so.
You'll have to come back, but people can obviously look up on your site to get all the tour details. But you've also been teasing us with some photos of a new wilderness series. Can you tell us anything about it?
Well, I'm hopeless on social media, but yeah, I'm very bad at teasing. I just sort of put a photograph up on the social, as people
on
say.
Socials.
Yeah, so I've been filming this year a new TV series called Wilderness, which, well, that's what we're calling it at the moment. Anyway, it might change by the time it goes out, but it's really about some of the last great wild places, wild areas of the planet. And I think I needed a reminder that they existed. And I think people need a reminder that this is still and glorious and gorgeous planet worth believing in and protecting and fighting for. And so we went to some of the last great wilderness areas of the world on our only home. And we met a lot of the people who lived there, because of course there are people everywhere, and people who are campaigning and battling to protect those places and looking after them, and the indigenous people who live there and have always lived there, and steward them and protect them, and often created these wilderness areas in the first place. So yeah, there's a lot of inspiring people we met. I mean, as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking of the views I saw, the places I saw, but also the people I met as well. And it's always, we are a wonderful creature. But we've got to start using our only home in a more sensible way.
Well, that's the thing. We're a wonderful creature, and we do have the capacity to make a difference. So it's just acknowledging that, really, isn't it? And what if there's one thing? Let's leave people with something they can do potentially, even just today. One thing they can do to make a difference. What do you think?
Oh goodness! I think one thing people can do today. You could ring up. You could get online and you could go and request a smart meter. That would help. You're building our future energy system that way. There you go. I think recognizing your individual impact is a really important thing. Recognize you as a human being. You've got a footprint on this planet and you want to reduce it down as much as possible. So just recognize your power, first of all. And then, use single-use plastic less and less. Try and really get that out of your life. That would be a wonderful thing for you to do.
Simon, inspiring as always. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Loved it. I'll see you soon.
Take care. All the best. Bye.
Manx Radio's 1 to 3, tended by Ramsey Garden Centre. Pick up your new all-season loyalty card in-store today and start collecting reward points.